This was a backstory I didn't know I wanted to see until I just witnessed it, and thank you Golden Kamuy Season 3 for delivering Hajime, and we have Lieutenant Surmi's backstory. How our boy lost half his face, but most importantly, we got something so emotionally engaging that it just twisted a character completely on its head and just really delivered something that was one of the most emotionally compelling stories that Golden Kamuy has seen to date. I was ready for a Serpa to be the star of this episode. I mean, they started out pretty much putting the focus on her, saying that even if you get all of the tattoos, all of the maps completed, there's something with her specifically that her father will basically put something in her head, whether it's a memory, whether it's something literal. You never know in this show. As far as we know, she could literally have a key inside her skull, we just don't even know. But most likely it's something she needs to remember, and without that, it's impossible to find the treasure, and hopefully for the characters traveling with her, they'll be able to get that information willingly from her whenever she does remember it, and if she already does remember it and she's playing dumb, hopefully eventually she'll open up to them, or at least that's their hope. I was ready for that to be the star of the episode, and honestly that is probably going to be very relevant quite soon. But I like that they gave us a little tease of that, really making us say, like, as much as we're doing some JoJo craziness last week and we're getting some emotionally heavy backstory this week, there is still that focus on the treasure, so we're going to remind you about it, give you a little bit of a treat here, not giving you a full course meal, but just letting you taste on that steak, making you understand that it's still the most important aspect, as then we shift over to give some characterization that was definitely needed. I'm sure most people watching this anime wouldn't have needed that in order to continue to enjoy it, but when you do get those moments where you're like, oh yeah, we really did need to see more information with these characters, it's nice to get that and show that it's not just a show that has silly references or it has insanity or it's just complete crazy annihilation. There is some real heart and character there. And episodes like these really do take your breath away. Every week I've come up here since Season 3 has started to say that the episodes have progressively gotten better, and honestly I'd go as far to say they did it 3 times in a row. Last week, in terms of pure insanity, is the most fun, but in terms of this episode, it did something different with that emotional heaviness and showing signs of the war that we didn't need to see, but I'm so glad we got to see them. Hell, they even show our boy Sugimoto giving up a sled because, who said it? Yeah, of course. Make sure you focus on those who can actually be saved. I'm like, my boy, you don't deserve this. You deserve better. But it's nice how that ties in to characters like Hajime and also Lieutenant Surmi, and just how everything, it's not just like these random encounters. They do have a history there, and it's so interesting to see how they're able to tie that together. Lieutenant Surmi's always been a character I've loved to hate, because he's someone who, without his insanity, the show wouldn't be nearly as entertaining. But he's never necessarily been someone I've overly trusted, but at the same time, there's been moments where I feel like he's got the right opinions, and other times I think he's a lunatic, and sometimes I think is a little bit of both. And to see an episode where a man is so madly in love with someone, goes off to war, gets letters during the war, and that's nice, you know, making sure that, you know, it's a love that can never be, but you know, you're taking a risk. You're saying even if you're going off the battle, I believe you'll come home safe. The letters eventually stop, and when you come back, you hear that your father is the reason why she's gone, that he did these things, and you just lose it. You beat him to death, and then you get a life sentence. That was heartbreaking. That was enough to satisfy me, to be honest, and then seeing Lieutenant Surmi, I was like, okay, yeah, he's probably gonna get him out of there and use him in some way. But the idea of saying like, oh, you know, we're going to war with Russia. I need you to speak fluent Russian. I know you're amazing at it. He's saying like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you best study, because he wanted him to rise to the occasion and not give up his life for his shitty father. That's pretty much what he was saying. I was like, that's also cool. I was really happy with that, because it felt like just that little bit of information, it gave us a lot of perspective on some of the past events in the prior seasons, and once again, I was okay with that. Golden Kamuy didn't need to go any further past that, and I probably would have been satisfied, to be honest. But as the episode gets going, and the idea of lies and how it's like, oh no, she's actually okay, that she went off because of, you know, someone wanted to marry her off, and then eventually they made this whole lie, and it's like, okay, yeah, you did some bad things, but at the very least she's okay. Do you want me to tell her you're alive? He's like, no, perfect. Get this nice moment. And then 9 years later, I believe it was 9 years later, he learns, no, that was also a lie, and that, yeah, I just tried to encourage you, and then you learn once again that too was a lie, and it's just this weird web of lies to get this man to cherish life and to be someone who wants to fight and actually do something with his life. The way Lieutenant Surmi was able to play this man like a fiddle, and then there's a couple of ways to look at it, and I had multiple ways of looking at it watching this episode. On one hand, I was like, I'm glad that he was able to give him a second outlook on life, saying you shouldn't die for a shitty father. because you should be able to enjoy your life. And he already said before any of this whole conspiracy happened that he was a shitty father. But at the same time, it felt like he's been manipulated into doing something he never really wanted to do. But then you could also argue he would have just been dead and would have hated life. At the very least, he's doing something with his life. But at the same time, it just is like weird web that, at least for me watching episode 3, I was constantly switching my opinion on what Hajime should have done. Should he have died in that cell? Should he not have died in that cell? Was this right? Was this wrong? And you're just like, it's hard to say. And Lieutenant Serpa has always been a very conflicting character. So to give him a backstory that's also conflicting while also tying into how his face got blown off, Hajime literally dedicating his life to him. You saved my life, so the rest of my life is going to be for you. And him then taking the most of the blast arrow, getting his face almost destroyed. It's nice that they do tie into those real moments, because even though a lot of people would have just been okay not ever seeing how his face got blown off, it's something that we would have thought about. But it's not something that if we reach the end of the anime, the story's over, we didn't see it. It's not something that we're going to spend too long saying, I wish we would have seen that. But the fact that they did give us that backstory, showing us what led to it in a very emotionally engaging way, it's something you gotta appreciate with Golden Kamuy. For a show that has as many styles as this, we go cooking, we go slice of life, we go JoJo action adventure, we have this treasure hunting, we have this conspiracy, and then we have these real heartfelt moments that are very conflicting to watch. It's nice that they do have moments to do whatever they want. Every episode of this season so far has felt like a different genre, and I really appreciate that. Because one of my favorite aspects about Golden Kamuy is it doesn't play by the traditional rule set. So to have each episode really do its own thing while continuing to progress towards the goal, while it's not progressing towards it as fast as maybe season 1 and 2, on the flip side, by not doing it like that, it allows it to really explore its many themes and ideas and let the production team have a lot of fun, and I'd argue more fun than they've had in the prior seasons, because it really feels like this is a passion project at this point, and you can tell. Golden Kamuy will always be a show that's never going to have the same amount of hype as it does in Japan, which I was actually looking up. It's insanely popular in Japan, and I really do wish it was as popular in Japan as it was in the West, because it's something that deserves to get as many views and streams as any of the big hitters in this season, if I'm going to be completely honest. It's a show that just oozes quality. It may be weird, but that weirdness is always going to be its biggest strength. And it's really nice to have episodes where you're not even really focusing on Sugimoto or Serpa or any of the main characters that we've come to really love. We're focusing on a sideline character and a sideline antagonist that we haven't seen that much of this season, and really making us understand their psyche, so when we do see them interact with our main characters, it's going to be all the more impactful. Rather than just keeping Lieutenant Serpa or Hajime as just these characters, that's what you see is what you get, and you can easily read the room. They're now even more complex than what we originally gave them credit for, and we've already thought they were pretty complex before this episode. So it's really nice to have those moments, and while Hajime's never really been a character I've been overly fond of, he's someone who's definitely risen up the ranks of my more intrigued characters of the series, and someone who I'm really hoping to see more and more this season. We've already got a decent amount so far, so hopefully they continue to deliver, because honestly, one of the best backstories Golden Kamuy has seen to date. I'm really hoping the remainder of this season is going to continue to have fun, kind of shifting around genre styles and really putting the focus on backstory, characterization, world building, lore building, because so far they have a great formula. It really does feel like season 1 and 2 taking the best content and leaving out all of the messy, and just leaving it with a great stew for us to consume with only good flavors, nothing weird in the mix. We're not making a stew here with gummy bears. It feels like quality ingredients, and it's definitely showing out of these 3 episodes. But I'd be interested to hear, what did you think of the backstory and the whole idea that Serpa could be the key to everything? Of course, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support and hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.